Welcome to my video on tools for the Dungeon Master or Game Master using Excel to track experience. I'm focusing on Dungeons & Dragons, and I'll be talking about 4th edition and 5th edition tonight. On the screen here, you can see this is my experience worksheet that I created for my latest campaign. It kept track of all the experience and the levels of all the characters. It actually worked fairly well. There are the 5 basic things I want to know. I want to know who the person is, what the name of the character is, what race, what class, and what gender. The rest of this is calculated. I have a series of columns. Each column I put the date, and then you put the amount of experience they earned. This column totals up or counts up how many adventures they were in. This totals up the adventures, and then it looks over and does a lookup to calculate the level. So that was what I did for my most recent campaign. This let's get to the 4th edition one. This is my newest version for 4th edition, and it's basically the same thing. I ran into an issue late in the campaign where we wanted to bring characters in at higher than first level, so I've added a base experience. Most of this is fairly simple. You just fill it in and calculate the levels. These are the levels for 4th edition. As you see here, if you have this much experience, you end up with this level. This looks up, giving the let's do the first one, the count. This counts, it goes from here and goes way over to the right and says that. So normally what you'd do is you'd put in the date, and then you'd put in amount of experience. And what it does then is it counts up the adventures, and it will only display a count if it's greater than 0. And then it totals up the experience of all the columns. But this allows me to put in a base experience of 500, and it will then add this base experience to the sum of the other experiences, which we'll do there. From that, it will then look up the level. For example, if this was 5,000, then it would say that that person is 4th level. So I've created one for 4th edition, and I've also created one for 5th edition. And the one for 5th edition, I went a little bit farther. In essence, I have another tab which defines gender, and another tab which defines the classes which are defined in the 5th edition player's handbook. And here's one for races that are currently defined. So when I come over here, now if I put in some person and a character name, and then my race is a drop down. This makes it very simple that I can pick out what race they are. Same thing with what class they are and with what gender. So you can do this. Then if I add a base experience of 5,000, and then my total experience here, and I put in say 50 here, it will say that this again is 4th level, because it then looks again. This has been updated for 5th edition. So this defines the 20 levels for 5th edition. So I've got the number of races, the number of classes, the gender, and the levels that are defined in 5th edition in experience. So it makes life a little bit easier for the Dungeon Master to use it. To insert a new adventure, you insert a column. So you just you highlight the column, and then you do an insert. And we'll insert a new column, and then you put the date on there. So that this column here you always leave blank. That's the way it plays with it. I'm not going to cover if you're interested, you can look up the equations that are in there. Nothing terribly complicated in this. It will allow you to do that. I'll put the links to all of these. They're out on Google Drive. So anybody who's interested, but it gives you a quick overview of how I kept track of experience and how I highly recommend to do this. You could create one for almost any system that keeps track of experience points. So thank you for listening.